6 years ago, Pearl lost everything: her home, her marriage, and the man she thought would love her forever. Pregnant and alone, she walked away with nothing but silent tears and a fragile promise to protect the life growing inside her. But time has a way of changing pain into strength. Today, she is no longer that broken woman. She is Zivana, an acclaimed designer, a devoted mother, and a woman who has learned to rise from the ashes. With her little boy holding her hand, she returns, not to beg, not to cry, but to face the past that once destroyed her. This is a story of a mother's unshakable strength to rewrite her destiny. Welcome to Fiction Feels, where every story feels like home. If you're a lover of heart-wrenching tales, betrayal, divorce, redemption, and unforgettable love, then you're in the right place. Here at Fiction Feels, we tell stories that truly resonate with the heart. Each one keeps you on your toes, makes your pulse race, and leaves you guessing until the very last word. As you watch, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss the stories we drop daily just for you. You can keep the change, sir. Pearl, a charming blonde with blue eyes, said upon debarking the taxi. A smile gently tugging the ends of her lips, she made her way into the first floor of the building before her. Seeing the elevator doors up ahead starting to close, she increased her pace a bit, regretting her decision to wear heels today. But she dared not run too fast as she couldn't afford a fall, not in her delicate state. A few steps away, she pleaded with the man who was already inside the elevator to hold its doors open for her. But to her dismay, he made no move to help. Just when she was feeling a touch of despair, the doors stopped closing. An older lady had stopped the doors from shutting fully with her cane. With the doors sliding apart again, the older lady entered, and so did Pearl. "Thank you, ma'am," she smilingly said to the woman, who told her it was not a big thing she had done. The man who had refused to help was wearing a dark red suit, and a deep scowl had materialized on his face. He couldn't help but curse under his breath, only for the elderly woman to hit his left thigh with her stick. "You stupid boy, you wanted to ditch me, so bad you refused to help this innocent lady. See how I'll deal with you when we get home. In fact, kneel down until we've reached our floor." But the man was unwilling, so the gray-haired woman hit him again with her stick. Amidst grumbling, he finally obeyed. Now apologize to this young lady. Even though he was unwilling, he had no choice but to apologize to Pearl. The latter said she had forgiven him, but also felt amused at his unhappy look. "Ma'am, it was nice to meet you. I hope we meet again. I'm getting off on the next floor," Pearl told the lady. "I see. All right, dear." Once the doors slid apart, Pearl got off and waved the mother and son duo farewell. Afterwards, she composed herself and elegantly made her way to apartment number 36. Opening the door after inputting the passcode, she stepped into the living room, feeling a wave of relief wash over her. She was finally home, and she had come home with the news that she and her dear husband had always wanted to hear. After 5 years of marriage, she was finally up the duff. She imagined how her beloved husband would react to this news, and that made her walk faster toward the bedroom. Her husband had been feeling under the weather for a few days now. Otherwise, he would have accompanied her to the hospital today. But that was all right. This news would cheer him up and help him recover faster. And so, with a joyful heart, she pushed the door to the matrimonial bedroom open. "Gregory, guess what?" The remaining words hung in her throat as she took in the abysmal sight before her. The man who had claimed to be sick was right there on their matrimonial bed, under the sheets and atop a woman, pounding frenzied moans out of her and causing the bed to groan for dear life. At that moment, it felt like her world had crashed. She wanted to rub her eyes, pinch herself to make sure that her eyes and ears weren't playing tricks on her. But even as she pinched herself, it was still the same. "Gregory," she called out in a choked-up voice, her purse tumbling from her fingers, landing on the tiled floor. Her call drew the pair's attention, and upon seeing her, they parted, with Gregory getting off the bed, buck naked, wearing a guilty look. "Pearl, honey, it's not what you think." "Typical." Pearl nodded sagely, two pools already forming in her eyes. "How could you do this to me? After everything." "Hey, stop acting like your husband's the one at fault," the woman on the bed interjected, covering her chest with the gray sheets. Now, Pearl could see who Gregory was cheating with. Ivana, her younger half-sister. You? She pointed a trembling finger at the smug redhead. Of course it's me. Or were you expecting someone else? Sis, you're quite useless, you know that. Here is Gregory, a perfect man with a dick every sane woman would kill for. He gives you everything, more than you deserve. All you had to do to repay his goodness was to bear him a child. But what have you done so far? Waste his precious seeds and leave him toiling fruitlessly for 5 good years, Pearl. Shouldn't you be ashamed of yourself? How dare you point fingers? Ivana spat. She left the bed, wrapping her body with the sheets. Ivana, you need not explain much to her. She already knows how terrible a wife she's been. Lie down and relax, I'll soon join you, okay? Gregory said with a smile to Ivana. Once the latter had done as he'd said, he turned to face his heartbroken wife. Look, Pearl, this situation came about thanks to you. If you had given me a child all this time, I would have remained loyal to you. But as it is, you are barren. It's like I married a man at home, and I will not have the world call me sterile when there's someone who can prove the opposite. So, you went for my sister, huh? You should be thanking me, Pearl. I didn't do it with some stranger. I did it with someone from your family, not a street slut. Hearing these words made her feel squicked out. This was the man she devoted herself to, the man who often whispered sweet nothings to her at night, who promised to love her till he breathed his last. Yet here he was, looking and sounding totally unfamiliar and disgusting. She snuffled and shook her head. No way was she telling him that she was already pregnant with his child. He didn't deserve that precious knowledge. By the way, Ivana's done what you couldn't do for 5 years in a single month. She's carrying my child, Pearl, and I'm sure it's a son, he divulged proudly. Well, Pearl forced a bitter smile. Good for you. Congratulations to you, too. For once, you're sounding like a good sis, Ivana chimed in smugly. Pearl felt like impaling the sole of her heel into that bitch's head, and she felt like ramming Gregory's head into the wall. Repeatedly, but she held back. They weren't worth her blood pressure rising, especially since she was pregnant. I'm moving out. You'll hear from my lawyer, she said. Hearing this, Ivana tittered. Oh, Gregory, why haven't you handed it to her yet? Pearl was baffled, but didn't want to ask Gregory what Ivana meant. Her husband sighed before walking to the wardrobe, where he fetched a document which he handed to her. Divorce agreement. So he'd long planned to get rid of me to make way for Ivana. Huh, she despondently said to herself, willing herself not to shed a single tear. No, she wouldn't look weak in front of these 2 trogs. Fine. Saves me time. She forced another smile and stooped to pick up her fallen purse. Opening it, she took out a pen and signed her name on the document without even reading it. Then she flung it in Ivana's direction. The latter didn't expect that, and neither did she dodge in time, so it hit her in the face. You stupid! Ivana, if you still want your neck intact with your body, don't insult me. Pearl then turned her attention to her sleazeball of an ex-husband. You're free now, Mr. Ridger. Thank you for opening my eyes to how much of a mistake I made by agreeing to become your wife. I wish you and Ivana a lifetime spent in regret, without peace and zero prosperity. She slid the wedding ring off her finger and threw it to the floor. Her words made him peeved. Pearl, I don't hit women. But if you don't take back those words, if you hit me, I'll turn you into a eunuch. You dare. Pearl taunted, her eyes showing she meant every word. He scoffed, arms crossed before his chest. Just so you know, there's no alimony. Even if there was, I wouldn't accept it. She snapped back, and he nodded sagely. Very well then. Pack your things and get lost. Don't show your ugly face in front of me or Ivana again. Several minutes later, Pearl exited the building, lugging 2 black suitcases as she walked. The sky, once sunny, had now turned gloomy, as if mirroring her current mood. Or maybe it was mocking her. She boarded a taxi, heading straight for an inexpensive hotel with near-excellent services and rooms. Only after she had checked into one of the rooms did she break down and cry. At one point, she felt the urge to head to the hotel's bar to get worse for the drink, but then, recalling her pregnancy, she chose not to. Standing on the room's balcony, she took in the beautiful sight of the city skyline. Then she tilted her head downwards, her palm placed on her still-flat tummy. Baby, your father is scum. I hate him so much for hurting me. But even so, I can't do the same to you. You're proof that I deserve to be a mother and to be loved and happy. I promise to care for you to the best of my ability." Wiping off another sneaky tear from her face, she went back into the room with a determined gaze, her heart already barred to love. "Gregory, Ivana, I will make you regret what you did to me today," she swore as she headed to the bathroom. 6 years later, Pearl stepped out of the airport terminal, lugging a silver suitcase with one hand and holding the hand of a dark-haired little boy who was lugging a small golden suitcase of his own. Both were donning sunglasses, and despite wearing rather simple outfits, they still caught others' attention. "Hi, can I take a picture with your kid? He's so adorable," a brunette in her late 40s entreated. "Sorry, but no," Pearl coldly replied. This was the 8th person she'd rejected. No way was she going to let her son's face spread through the phones of unrelated people. She trusted no one. A black sedan was parked right at the base of the steps, and the bald driver, who was donning a black suit, stepped out of the vehicle. "You're Miss Sawyer, I presume?" the middle-aged man asked as he closed the gap between them. "Yes, I'm her," she replied with an elegant voice, leading her kid to the back seat while the driver placed their luggage in the boot. Soon, the car's engine revved to life, and the vehicle sped out of the airport premises. Almost 2 hours later, they reached their destination. The mother and son duo stepped out of the car, and the little boy was amazed by the grand mansion before him. "Whoa! Mummy, we're going to live in this place throughout our stay." "Yeah, Frederick," Pearl responded with a bright smile. "You like it?" "Very much," the boy nodded, even jumping in excitement. "Does it have a swimming pool?" "Of course it does. But without mine or Uncle Richard's permission, you can't get in the water." "Are we clear on that?" Though pouting a bit, Frederick still replied, "Yes, Mummy." As they scaled up the entrance stairs, a tall man in his late 30s exited the house, dressed in a smart, casual outfit that couldn't hide his muscular body. His hair was slicked back, and he sported prescription glasses that just added to his beauty. Upon seeing him, the little boy grew even more excited and rushed towards him. The latter hunched forward and picked up the boy in his arms, doing a little spin while the boy giggled. "Uncle Richard?" "Yeah, it's me, kiddo. Did you miss me?" "I did. I want to play with you." "Sure. But let's have dinner first, okay?" the man suggested, stroking Frederick's hair. Sure. The boy wrapped his arms around Richard's neck, feeling totally comfortable. This scene filled Pearl's heart with warmth. She first met him while she was in her 3rd trimester. At the time, she had just been robbed, and things got so bad that she became homeless. He helped her with an apartment where she was made to live for free with upkeep money provided, and even personally cut Frederick's umbilical cord. Then he even found her a job, some months after she had given birth to Frederick. And when she wanted to pursue her current career, he was there to encourage her even when she felt like giving up. Now she was a renowned but mysterious designer who went by the stage name Ivana. The gratitude she felt towards him was immeasurable. She felt it could never be fully repaid. He had done so much for her and her son. Seeing him make some jokes that made her son giggle at present, her heart bubbled with joy. And then for a moment she thought, if he were my son's daddy, how complete life would be. But then, she quickly dismissed such a thought. He already had someone he liked. He had told her last month. Although he didn't mention her name, there was no way it would be her. After all, she was a single mother. He would surely go for a woman from a noble household, perhaps more beautiful and, most importantly, chaste. She had come back to the country at his insistence to attend his mum's birthday function, which was coming up next week. She was the one who designed the dress Richard had gifted to his dear relative for the event, although the latter wasn't aware. Even so, Pearl had made sure that the outfit was the very best, one that would be talked about even years after the event. "Hey, Richard," she called out to the fellow who was involved in a conversation with her son. "Oh yeah, I almost forgot you were here. My bad. Come on in. I've had the new chef prepare dinner. I assure you, you're going to love it." "I bet. Oh, and guess what?" "What?" She was bad at guessing, but still played along anyway. She wouldn't want to ruin this beautiful moment. "I personally made your favorite, and don't you dare laugh or say that it's a disaster to all 5 senses. My heart wouldn't be able to take it," he said dramatically, causing her to roll her eyes. Yeah, he still hadn't changed. And that was one of the things she quite liked about him. As she stepped into the house, following behind Richard. Pearl's smiling look turned into a grave expression. "Watch out, Gregory. I'm back to fulfill my promise." A week later, Saturday night, 7:30 p.m., she stepped into the venue with her son. Grand, tastefully furnished and prodigious, the place was just as she'd expected. Tonight, nearly every leading light in the industry was present at the function. They had come partly to congratulate the 65-year-old celebrant and secondly, in hopes of making the mysterious Zivana sign with them. It was no news that her contract with the agency abroad had ended, and she had disclosed that she would be attending this function and would pick a worthy local company to sign with. The news had rattled even the bigwigs in the business industry here. After all, they wanted to be the lucky one. Everyone tonight had dressed their best, as if they had an audience with a deity. No more was she that heartbroken housewife from years ago. She was now someone companies would kill to collaborate with. Richard was a self-made millionaire. VMS International, his company, though not the best out there, was thriving under his leadership. And she knew he was currently facing some challenges, thanks to a traitorous ex-employee who sold confidential information that helped his rival snag his potential bigwig client. He hadn't told her because he didn't want to worry her. But she had still found out anyway. So tonight, she planned to give him a nice present. And saying no wasn't an option this time. Halfway through the party, Richard introduced her on stage to everyone, and that got everyone's hopes high. Many were thankful that they hadn't offended her just because she came in with a kid. Besides, the kid was adorable, so there was nothing to even pick at in the first place. "Y'all need not swarm me like bees after I step down from this platform," she told them after the mic had been handed to her. "I'm not the star of the event," she pointed towards Richard's mother, who was seated on a throne-like chair. "She is. I'm here to enjoy the party, and you all should. As for business and collaborations, I already have my eyes set on 2 good candidates, which I'll reveal at the end of the party." With that, she handed the mic back to Richard, smiling, and reunited with her son, who was having a good time with the dishes. He was a foodie, just like her. "Pearl, what a surprise. You're also here." She knew the owner of that voice. She would recognize him even if he turned to ashes. That scum of an ex she had for a husband. Gregory. In the flesh. She turned to face him, not even bothering to return the polite smile he had on his face. "So you're here as well. I wonder what you had to do behind the curtains just to get here." Gregory wasn't the radiant, arrogant man from memory. Now, he looked like a total shadow of his past self. Much thinner with a pale look that couldn't be hidden, despite how much he tried. And the navy blue suit he was wearing, she bet he needed to return it to the store after the event. It still had the tag attached. Well, that doesn't matter. What's important is that we've met. Honestly, I was surprised when you were introduced as Zivana. You rightly should. Thought I wouldn't make it out there without your help, right? Well, reality's given you a slap in the face, no. He tilted his head low, wearing a look of remorse. "Pearl, I'm sorry. I was a fool to let you go." "You tossed me away," she corrected, taking the chance to rip off the tag sticking out from the suit jacket's collar. "You don't need this. Just as you didn't need me back then." She tossed the tag to the floor, ignoring his paler look. At that moment, her son turned to her. "Mom, you've got to try this dessert. It tastes like heaven." His words caught Gregory's attention. This boy, he looked just like him. His eyes widened with both surprise and hope. He could perhaps use this kid to patch things up with Pearl. His company was on the verge of hitting its nadir. He was so stressed out from doing everything he could to save it. He even borrowed from banks, hoping to keep it afloat. He couldn't let his years of hard work go to waste like that. And now that Pearl had reappeared, and with his adorable son at that, surely things would start to look up for him. So he squatted down with what he thought was a friendly smile. He reached out to touch the boy, but the latter backed away. "Mom, who's this guy? Is he here to beg or kidnap me?" "I don't like him," the boy said to Pearl with a look of sheer disgust, making his father's eye twitch in awkwardness. He rose to his feet, still wearing a smile. "Kid, I'm not a bad person." "Pay! You look just like a bad guy." "Mummy, call the security before he carries out his evil plans." Gregory felt like smacking the boy on his head. What was wrong with him? Here he was, putting in all the effort to catch up with his son, but the latter was just burning the bridges. He clearly didn't like him. "It was nice meeting you again, Gregory. Just know that I haven't started my revenge yet. Once I'm done, I'll make sure you still retain your hands and eyes. You'll need them, I promise." Saying that, she took hold of her son's hand and walked towards Richard's direction. Seeing her chat so happily with another man made Gregory feel like he'd eaten shit. He didn't like this feeling at all, and he wasn't one to give up. As long as the boy existed, he still had a chance to make her his wife again. And then, she would have no choice but to use her fame, influence, and money to save his company. After all, which faithful wife would let her husband drown in despair and debt? Just like she had promised, Pearl once again took the stage to announce the two candidates from whom she would ultimately choose one. "At this party, there are two people who made an impression on me. The first one, the CEO of an almost dead company, Gregory Ridger." At that, many turned to face a stunned Gregory. But then he smiled and even waved. "So she still has feelings for me," he thought to himself. Since she already mentioned his name, as the father of her kid, she would have no choice but to pick him and save him. And the second, she turned to face Richard. "It's you? My son's uncle, Richard Phillips." Richard was stunned. "Me?" There were others, much better than he was, present at this function. Although she was his friend, he hadn't dared to hope she would nominate him, but she did? "I choose you, Richard," she said with a tone of finality, a smile gracing her features. "And I choose to collaborate with VMS International." Hearing this, the audience clapped with mixed feelings. Gregory, who was prepared to be called on stage in triumph, was left transfixed, eyes shot open in sheer disbelief. She had chosen another man over him. That man clearly wasn't as handsome or as tall as he was. How dare she pick him? Oh, and one thing. "Security, please throw that beggar out of this event before he steals something," she said, pointing to Gregory. Two burly men in suits soon flanked him. "Pearl, please, you can't do this." "I'm your husband," he yelled desperately, drawing gasps from everyone. Still holding the mic, she responded, "You need a brain check, Mr. Ridger. I'm not your wife. Not now. Not in the future. You aren't worthy to be my son's father. A pig would do a better job than you." These words she spoke weren't just to mock him. They were to make sure the last investor he still had left would back off. His company would then crash for good, and she wouldn't even do him the favor of buying it. He didn't deserve it. Back at the mansion, Richard asked her, "So he was your ex?" She nodded. "Yeah, he was. I regret ever being his wife. But what I do not regret is giving birth to my son. You really surprised me today." "Thank you. I wasn't expecting that," he told her with sincerity. "That's nothing, Richard. Since the coast's clear, there's something I've been wanting to ask you for a while now." "Shoot," she told him, ears perked up to listen. "Can I be Frederick's father and your husband?" he asked. It had been 1 month since he got thrown out of that function in disgrace. Gregory no longer had a business or fancy home to his name. It was a miracle he was still not yet missing a limb with the amount of debts he owed loan sharks. He had tried visiting his ex-wife in Mr. Richard's mansion, but he was only allowed entry once. And Pearl! She made him work like a slave in that house, sapping him of whatever energy he had that day. Then his son even punished him to kneel outside in the cold rain for bothering him while playing with his precious toys. Still wanting a chance at luxury again, he endured, hoping their hearts would soften. But after that day, he was no longer allowed entry. Pearl even took a restraining order against him, heightening his frustration. And now, it had just been revealed on television that the CEO of VMS International was tying the knot with the talented Zivana. "How could she do this to me?" he seethed, pounding hard at the creaky table in the smaller apartment he now lived in. He hated the stuffy place. He hated being broke, and his only way out, Pearl, had completely ditched him for another guy. His son didn't even want him. Maybe he could try making a scene at Richard's company. But then he shook his head. He owed a lot of people now. If he showed his face, and 1 or 2 creditors saw him, a broken leg wouldn't suffice. Should he try to kidnap his son and demand ransom? Pearl might despise him for it, but with that money, he could build something glorious once again. Hearing that Richard's mansion was in desperate need of a nanny, he decided to apply, dressed like a woman and even applied makeup. Pearl chose him out of the other candidates, and he internally gloated that she was blind. On day 3 of his work as a live-in nanny, he tried to kidnap Frederick. But shockingly, his partner in crime turned out to be an undercover cop. Pearl never needed a nanny, and even if she had, she wouldn't pick the likes of him. It was clear she had successfully schemed against him. And so, instead of hatching an evil plan, he landed in jail, awaiting a trial he knew he couldn't win. Even if he eventually got released, rising to the top would be a far-fetched dream. Not when he had a prison record. His arrest was even captured by the paparazzi Richard had planted that day. When his mother came to see him in jail, she disowned him. Their relationship hadn't ever been good, and now with what he'd done so far, she felt she was better off childless. A day before Pearl and Richard's wedding, he unexpectedly got released. Getting home, he found his apartment had been broken into. The little things of value that he had were all gone. But the thief had kindly left him a mat and a small, poorly functioning TV. Depressed, he used whatever funds he had to get a few cartons of strong beer, which he downed while watching Pearl and Richard kiss in the grand wedding hall displayed on the TV the next day. His adorable son was the ring bearer, and he seemed even more excited than his parents. "I love you, Daddy," Frederick told Richard in the presence of all the guests. These words should have been directed to him. If only he hadn't been hasty and cheated with that which called Ivana. She was the source of his problems. 5 months ago, while he was organizing a small party for his employees to celebrate an achievement, the wife of a bigwig, Katrina Meyerson, stormed into the venue and accused Ivana of breaking her marriage. She presented evidence of Ivana sleeping with her husband and also other men. Gregory was left stunned and disgraced that night as Ivana couldn't even bother denying the allegation. She had simply said, "So what? He's quite good in bed, and he's got cash. I only married you to spite my sister. You're not creative in bed. It's no surprise I would find some other guy." However, Katrina also revealed that even before Ivana became intimate with Gregory, she had several sugar daddies. Katrina had the unrepentant Ivana arrested. The news caused his company's once steadily rising stock to plummet. Some clients, whom he'd managed to persuade into investing in his company, quickly chose to withdraw their funds and support. Dismayed, he did a DNA test, which confirmed that the son Ivana had given birth to wasn't his. He couldn't bring himself to raise someone else's son, so he sent the latter into the foster care system. And then he handed divorce papers to Ivana, demanding she sign them while in prison. But she tore up the papers, saying she was still his wife and their son was his. Even after he showed her the results of the DNA test, she continued asserting the child was his. And that made him attack her on the spot, with police restraining him and making him stay a few days in jail as punishment. Still, he had pursued the divorce even as things went further downhill for him. Now, he immensely regretted tossing Pearl away. Had he known she was pregnant with his son at the time, he wouldn't have given in to that slut's advances. He would have remained faithful. His business would have climbed greater heights, and he would have had a happy family. All he had left was regret, guilt, frustration, and shame at what he'd become. "Pearl!" He belched with droopy eyes and a bulging stomach. Then, lifting a half-empty bottle of beer, he smiled bitterly, a tear rolling down his right cheek. "It hurts me to see you like this. But," he belched again, "congratulations to you and Frederick. I hope Richard treats you right, that he gives you the love and loyalty that the foolish me couldn't give," he snuffled, downing the remaining contents of the bottle before keeling over on his mat. Meanwhile, at the grand wedding reception, Pearl was dancing with her husband slowly, gently, and lovingly. She had changed her outfit, and now she looked even more charming. "Pearl, honey, I still can't believe it. I'm married to the woman I fell for. Who is as lucky as me?" Pearl chuckled, pausing their dance as she looked into his hazel eyes. "I consider myself lucky to be your bride as well, Richard. I'm glad you're my son's daddy. I always dreamed of that." And then they locked their lips in a deep, passionate kiss. For a moment, they temporarily forgot where they were until his friend, who'd come from abroad just for the wedding, faked a cough to remind them. Both flushed as they parted, apologizing to the guests, who simply laughed. His mother even urged them to go to the bridal chamber ahead of time. She was dying to hold another grandkid, preferably a daughter. Her words made the new couple even more flushed, but Richard agreed. Then he lifted his wife in a bridal carry and brought her out of the hall to the hotel room where they would be spending their wedding night. 4 months later, on her son's birthday, she gave him the perfect gift. She was pregnant with twin girls. Frederick was very excited to become a big brother, and he hugged his parents and thanked them for making his dream come true. 2 years later, while on vacation with her family, she encountered Gregory working as a waiter. He tried to hide when he saw her, and even when she caught him, he pretended not to know her. She sighed, "Honestly, I don't hate you anymore. I've found everything I need in Richard, and I can see that you've worked hard on improving yourself." Gregory then knelt and started crying, apologizing for the bad things he did. He then begged for a chance to give his son a gift, but she refused. "When you've become somebody, maybe you'll get that chance." Richard came to meet them and purposely snaked his hand around her waist, planting a kiss on her forehead. This sight was like adding vinegar to his open wounds. But he didn't dare upbraid Richard. Instead, swallowing the pain and jealousy budding in his heart, he forced an ugly smile and wished them more happiness before taking his leave. Watching them flirt and kiss behind his back made his regret mount new heights. Heading to the restroom, he cried his eyes out, clutching his aching chest. Pearl, oblivious to his situation, was currently enjoying the cake her son was feeding her while being seated on her husband's lap and resting her head on his chest. The twins, Lilia and Linda, were playing rock, paper, scissors, with the younger one frustrated at always losing. She ran to her parents and complained almost tearfully. Pearl lifted her upset daughter and placed her on her lap, letting the little one rest her head on her belly as she comforted her with gentle words and even fed her some cake. Not far from the scene was Gregory, who was spying on them from a hidden spot, wishing he could turn back time.